Read this, Teresa. You tell me, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Oh my God, look
Hey.
at you. Your skin is bomb. Do you get facials?
No.
Oh my
Thank
God, it
you
looks
though. I've been
looks
working on my skin, so
really
thank you.
uh, hands down, like 10 out of 10. Sorry, I just recently I don't do any of like the hardcore acids or anything like that, but I
Yeah.
now go in like every 2 weeks and I get a thing called a hydrofacial. And yours look like
Nice.
mine. Oh, right after I get that done, and I'm like, whew,
I
10
switched
out
on
of
my
10.
skincare like 6 months ago, and I'm seeing huge improvements. So,
You look
yeah.
great. You look great.
Thank
Let
you.
me tell you, from coming from somebody that sees people all day long, like 10 out of 10, best skin of the week. So, with that being said, welcome in. I apologize for being a couple minutes behind. One of the
Oh,
things
no.
is you're going to get a recording tomorrow, and the
Okay.
first 5 minutes is me messing around with my camera and my mic because they won't work. So, just ignore that part. I'm actually talking to you in it too. I'm like, I'm sorry, I see you in here. Give me 2 seconds. So, just be with me, okay?
No
Um,
problem. I was actually
thank you.
to catch a few minutes of you on TikTok today. So, yeah.
I love you. Well, thank you. Well, yeah. Well, we're here. You get me for an hour. We're gonna have a good time. And before I get
Yay.
started, I wanna talk about a little bit about not only I talk about it on live, but we're here now. So it's
Yeah.
just me. I'm gonna have my pen. I'm gonna be chewing on it probably. I have my little scribble pad like I normally have, right? People always ask, how do you channel? That's the biggest thing. Remember that when we're bringing these people through,
Mhm.
what we're doing is we're saying, hey, I know you probably haven't been channeled before, and you may not even believe in what this person does. And so now I want you to come through. I want you to use her energy and my energy, and I want you to say everything perfect. Okay. So what we have to do is at first, remember one of the things that I figured out is that they come through the way they were in life. And
Yeah.
so if they were talkative and fun and happy, and now I want to say like in the prime of life, some people, I had this gentleman a couple of days ago. He kept like acting like he was almost like this jazz singer type of thing. He was very funny. He's like, come with me over here. Like, let's get over here. He's very, and the woman was like, he had Alzheimer's. I was like, was he like a singer or performer though? Yeah, he did that for 20 years. I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
You're
because
going to want to
that's
present
how.
your best self, what you considered, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely correct. And so I'm like, yes, we'll talk about that, but they don't stay there. So I get, how
Okay.
do I talk or how do they talk? They give me signs and symbols that mean one thing to me. They give me feelings and emotions that'll come through and mean another thing. They will put me in different situations or scenarios and try to make me relive, refeel, or re-experience something. And then the last one is that I get words and phrases that just boop up in my head, and I got to tell you what they are. Um, I want to go ahead and start off by well, pause before I start zoning out. So I'm
Mhm.
going to be staring at this light,
Okay.
not you the whole time. And it's because I'm going to be trying to figure out how you get so much volume in your hair and why I don't have that. And so I have to stare at my light, otherwise I'll be
I love
ADHD.
you.
I love you too. Well, that's the thing. So I appreciate it. And then the other thing is, all I really need you to do at first is tell me, hell yeah, Amy, that makes sense, or no,
Okay.
it doesn't.
Okay.
And so I'm not a person that goes through and says, all right, write all this stuff down. At the end, we'll go back through it.
Yeah.
No, it's like
Yeah.
hit tat. Okay.
Yep.
I'll bring one in at a time. Maybe
Okay.
two will come in. If we want to bring more in, we can.
Okay.
Um, hmm. Somebody is talking about you being, let me put on my music. Somebody's talking about you being like just a cool mom. Interesting. Weird. I haven't heard that. So maybe you're like the fun one of the group, or you're the person that's like, come get chips, everybody, come get
Uh-huh.
chips. That's just kind of
Uh-huh.
like how this feels. They say
Uh-huh.
that one, this gentleman is just like, yep, she's good, she's good, she's good. So there's a guy that shows up first. Oh, come on, play for me. I have my Gladiator theme song, and right now I'm getting a thing. Hold on, an advertisement. Go. There we go. Oh, right off the bat, let's start with some heavy stuff, shall we?
Okay.
So this guy shows up, and he's like appreciating you. He's appreciating for who you are, like, um, how sweet, how strong, how intense you are. And he's talking about how, this may be dad. Um, Maybe he separated himself a little bit from you, though. He separated himself, in a way, because he's talking about how, I see how great see how wonderful she is. Like, partly this was his problem in a way, or it was his thing. I wasn't going to think that they would get to that already. So what happened? And yeah,
They
who
know
are
I'm
you?
ready and anxious, right? So,
Yeah,
It was like
Yeah,
right before this, I was trying to zone out and I
yeah.
felt such a strong presence. And I was like, but it was
Mhm.
joy. And it was like, oh my, I'm feeling happiness that they can have this conversation with me. Right.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I know it's going to be
Mhm.
amazing. And
Mhm.
I'm hungry for the feedback, good or bad. Right. So,
Yeah,
so yeah,
I
definitely.
know. I'll give it
And
to you all. Tell
to
me.
me that resonates, right? And
Yeah.
I'm enough of a fan of yours to know you'll tell it to me straight. So
Mhm.
that's what I want.
I love you. Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah, and if you want me to stop, if you want to discuss something, if you want me to go back, because when I start channeling, I just roll.
yeah,
So if
yep.
you want to say, "Hey, Amy, let's go back and focus," just yell at me. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
This guy, and I'm so glad that you were able also to feel the joy thing, because a lot of people come in and they get scared, or they think like you're gonna
No,
sit here and have a whole crying time the
no. I
entire
was
time.
convinced. I was like, okay, this is just, they're
Yeah.
letting me know I'm here,
Yeah.
I'm ready, and
Mm-hmm.
this is
Mm-hmm.
gonna be good.
That's spirit. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. It feels
Yeah.
like oh, like
Yeah.
that. So the gentleman, where okay, I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna interview him, kind of like, what are you doing? What's happening? So the first thing he gave me was a feeling. That was the feeling that's going along with that. It's interesting that he there's another guy here that just showed up in my head, and he's like, oh hey, hi, how are you? And so they like shake each other's hand for a second. Very almost like
Yeah.
opposite personalities in a way.
Oh
One
yes.
was
Oh yes.
one was like
Both
almost
father
feels like Bob.
figures, but
Yes.
opposite. Yeah.
Very opposite. One feels like Bob Ross, the other one feels like grumpy in a way. And so
Uh-huh.
that's the best way I can describe it right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
He hold on, like, hi, how are you? What are you doing? Oh, I'm fine. So it's high and low. He what are you doing? I think then that's the stepfather. So the stepfather adores you. Like that was actually a thing. Okay. One. Did you really actually like honor your stepfather? Like you really, really liked him? Yeah. Okay.
He
Interesting.
was
So
a
that's not a
huge
norm.
influence in my life, right?
Yeah.
Like I think I would have
Mhm.
taken a much different path in life without him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has it's sorry, I'm gonna say this. He almost has like a godlike feeling to him, where he comes up and he puts his hand on your shoulder, and he's just like, however, like just this positive, nice, flowy. And the way you look at him, you go, so it means like I
Yeah.
honor you, I appreciate you. And
Yeah.
that's not normal for stepfathers, which is kind of nice to feel. One. You're funny. You're just talking about yourself in my head. You're talking about going through crazy phases, which means like dark, deep, emotional. Oh my God. Like, yeah, I was this way, but then I got out of it. He's talking about maybe the steps that you're talking about um having a different influence. He's talking about how I'm guessing you really pulled yourself out of a dark place. It almost feels like for half a second, maybe you were hanging out with the wrong crowd, really, really bad, like wrong crowd. And then you said, nope. And you like jumped it all the way out. He maybe those people don't live anymore. I don't know. There's like drugs that surround it, but we'll talk about that later. But you're not a drug person. There's just a feeling. What about you? Come back over here. You're the best, I guess. You go over and above for cooking then. So like you're the big holiday person, which is great. It's interesting. I don't even know if like you really, really got into cooking until like a few years ago. Is that like a thing? Like before it was kind of like, eh?
Well, it's more that I feel like that's how I can connect now with family, right? So those times are super important to me. The Thanksgiving gathering, right? And then, I found that, the guy that I'm with loves to cook, but he has a Mediterranean background. His family's Greek, and I'm from Texas, right? I was born
Oh
in Houston, right?
yeah.
So
Oh, no wonder we
I know. So, I'm kind of Tex-Mex barbecue, all that kind of.
uh-huh,
And
sweet
so our
potatoes.
tastes are very different, right? And
Yeah.
so, what we found is that sometimes, my girls want my cooking versus his, even though he's an excellent cook, right? So,
It's
yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny. They showed you like walking with a casserole dish with like sweet potatoes. You know how they have sweet potatoes and they put like the marshmallows on top of it and everything?
Yes.
And that's what they have, but they have you walking with it and very proud. Like, this
Yeah,
is mine. And I've recently started doing this. Maybe they're
yeah,
also talking about maybe your heritage, right? What you like.
yeah.
Your father and not father-in-law, your stepdad
Mhm.
is he likes to sit and he sits with his legs kind of like crossed. I can't show you this right now. And he's just like hanging out like, hey. So I'm gonna kind of interview them. Your stepfather has actually overshadowed your dad, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna
Okay.
pull one aside and interview them both. And
Okay.
let's talk about dad first. So let me ask him if he'll help me and hold on. Your dad almost has a feel. I know that you, I mean, I pulled up your appointment and I read it, and you're talking about letting him down and like feeling
Mhm.
that guilt. But it's interesting because he feels like he let you down in a way, and I don't know why, and we'll get into that. So there's this varying degrees of who has more guilt. I need you to let yours go because you don't. He feels like in a way, but he also tell me what happened with you and why were you doing that? He's a very frustrated man. Very, very, very frustrated when he's younger. Why? Um, he I don't think you're an alcoholic though, dude. Like you weren't that way. Um, he's just talking about how I guess he did he like try to stay with your mom up until like you were like a little like a preteen or something like that and then left?
Um, no, it was they were. I was like 5,
You were
but
5.
he carried a torch for a long time.
Oh, okay. They're talking about how he, like the relationship was dead. It should have been dead a long time before because of this frustration or this back and forth stuff. And he's talking about how, when he would come home, he'd love to see his kids kind of in a way, but then, I mean, he loved them, but it was more like dreading. And I don't know, maybe it's like dreading the
Mhm.
relationship.
Mhm.
Maybe it's like dreading the drudgery of doing the same crap all the time. There's
Mhm.
some feeling like of escapism that goes in here in my head. So maybe we're doing behaviors that cause us to escape. I don't
Yep,
know. There's a feeling of like
that makes
aloofness.
sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so he just puts
But
me in.
it makes sense for the next phase of the stepmother.
Okay,
I think
okay.
that's
And
probably a lot of what you're picking up on
well, yeah, that's where we're going with
because
it.
that
And
would have
he's
fit for that timeline.
well, he loves you. He just feels like in the same way that his hands are also tied behind his back, and I don't know why that would be. What was going on? Um,
Yeah,
he
I
said he said, quote unquote, I was a working man, but there was a thing of
yeah.
like being lackadaisical at the same time. Maybe he just,
Well,
and the stepmother was really screamy, or what was happening with her? Why does she feel like a
so he
witch?
was a workaholic. So he wasn't
Yeah,
necessarily an alcoholic, but he was a workaholic,
workaholic.
and he
Yeah.
was hardly around. And
Escapism.
he married my stepmother as a thinking she would be a great mom, right?
Yeah.
So that he could,
Yeah.
be able to do that and provide for us. But
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't for me, right? Not so much with the other kids, but it was a
Mm-hmm.
horrible environment for me growing up. And so he did it for good reasons, but kind of like you said, like he didn't know me. It was because he
Yeah.
didn't, what he knew of me was what he got through her because he
Yeah.
was always gone. And so he
Yeah.
didn't really know me. Right.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, I had a lot of trouble for a lot of years. And I actually, helped him to understand this later before he died.
Mm-hmm.
And he admitted he didn't want to know, right? He closed his eye, and I'm thinking maybe that's the hands tied behind your back kind of thing.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
knew if he admitted what my stepmom was doing to himself, he couldn't live with staying married to her.
Yeah, well that's this is what he shows me, and I'm just gonna try to he's showing it to me in images. He
Okay.
puts I don't know if y'all lived in a 2-story house. I have no idea. That's just the thing. He puts me as like if somebody walks into a home and there's really low ceilings in there and everything is very, very dark and it has like dark carpet and dark paneling. I'm not saying that you
Mhm.
do, but he's setting
Mhm.
the scene for like almost feeling like I'm trapped, right? He
Mhm.
like comes into this house and he's very
Mhm.
exhausted. He has a tie on but it's a little bit disheveled. And when he walks
Mhm.
in, he's kind of like dragging himself,
Okay.
like, like that. And then he's talking about how when people are coming up to him, he's like, oh, I I'm pushing you away. I'm pushing you away. Not me, not like yelling and screaming, but just like I'm so out of it.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, it's some like escapism, because he's talking about how the only reason or the only way I can get my mind off of all of this is going and doing this other thing, which
Yes.
is the job. And then he's talking about how even when he's home, there's some sort of woman or female presence. That's where the stepmom comes in,
Mhm.
that he shows her as being like a shadow with horns, but when he shows up, she's not that way. So
Right.
it's this very like evil kind of underlying feeling that happens here, but he can't get out of it. He's in
Mhm.
this cycle. He's in the whirlwind too much, and so
Yeah.
he's trapped. He You are, I think, are the bee's knees out of all the kids. I mean, you're the like the number one and the highlight of my life. That's kind of what it feels like for him. He and you're the person with compassion, but I think it's also because you didn't have a whole lot of compassion growing up, and so you understood it, and so you were able to get that.
Mhm.
He's just talking about how like giving and wonderful and out there you are at the same time. He's talking about how what? Tell me. Maybe, oh. Oh. How long were you married the first time?
9 years.
A long time. Okay. He's
Yeah.
talking about how this long stint. I said, so,
Mhm.
did she get married? How does this work? Is this one
Mhm.
going to work out? How does this
Mhm.
happen? And he says, oh, she was married for, a long
Yeah.
time. I go, fine. He goes, I'm glad she's out of that one. So that one wasn't really like that great. Let's just
Uh-huh.
say that. I think we thought we were going to have a superhero. We ended up not having one.
That would
I
fit.
Uh-huh, all the way. They showed me an image of like this person, you thinking him to be like the star quarterback, and then he ended up being like a
Football.
slum.
Football guy. Yep.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, that's what he's putting in my head. And then he's talking about this one. You want to get married to this guy.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. This is interesting. I said, I know it's a boyfriend. I said, how is that going? We'll look at the chart later on down the line. Okay. Cause I just want to like stare at it for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Because I want to like confirm with you, before we get into anything else. So one of the things they talk about is they have you and they put like this starburst diamond on your hand and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe
Yeah.
he's ready, or I can't believe this.
Yeah.
So I would think, in like the next 2 years that happens if you're ready for it. I don't know. I don't feel anything bad on it.
Okay. Good.
I
Good.
don't feel anything bad.
We've
That's
been
actually
together
really
9 years.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah, it's weird because there's nothing like heavy or dense or dark about it. It just almost feels like we're kind of like waiting for him and making sure that he's okay with it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it. We'll look at that in a little bit.
Okay.
Let me ask Dad. So what happened to you, Dad? Hang on. What didn't happen to me? So he was
Yeah.
having a hard time, bud. Um, he's talking about just continuing. So that means he was chronically sick. He does not like doctors. He
No.
I said, so how long were you in the hospital, or did you go see doctors, or was it just like instant? And he looks at me for a second, like I see his face, and he's like, they're all terrible. And I'm like, okay, you don't like them. He's talking about how was he only he doesn't feel that old. Was he in like his mid 70s when he ended up passing? Maybe.
He just turned 70.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, cool.
Wait, he was
Because
way
I
too
thought,
young.
yeah, very young. So the way he shows himself, his skin and everything is sagging. His hair is a little bit, gray or whatever this
Yeah.
is. It's all
Yeah.
different. But he doesn't, and I asked him compared to my dad. My dad was 86 when he died. And he goes, I'm not that old, but he calls himself an old man, which is funny. And so I go through and I ask him, and he puts himself in a feeling on this area that he's a little bit older. My mom, she's 68. And he's talking about how he felt like he went through the ringer. What
He did.
he said they had time, so people had time to say goodbye to him. He says, leave me at home, leave me be. Leave me at home, leave me be. Um,
Yeah.
He like wants to die with dignity. I don't know if
Yes.
he actually got that though, but he wants to, he wants to die with dignity. Yeah.
He
He
didn't. And
he's
that's where I feel like I failed him. Right.
what? Oh, stop. No, 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 no. You don't need to feel that way. We're getting into that right now.
Okay.
He's like, "Go home, leave me be." And I go, "Okay, what?" And then he's talking about how he felt like kind of embarrassed or whatever, or that it was just wasn't the thing. He says that weird. I wonder what was he alone when he ended up passing?
No,
Weird. He's talking about being kicked out, like poop, and like feeling like he was alone, and I don't know why. Hold on, let's see.
he
He feels trapped though. Weird.
he
I have
was
no idea what that.
on a ventilator, and we ended up turning that off.
Taking
So
him off.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So we never
Yeah.
regained consciousness, right?
Yeah. Okay, that would make sense. He's talking about how he's in this hospital or he's in this area. He doesn't like not he wants to be at home when he dies, but obviously that wasn't able to happen. Um and he's talking about how he felt like he was alone and they kicked him out or they kicked him off, which means they took him off the ventilator. He's gone. He's
Yep.
saying that I feel like he wherever weird. He's talking about laboring, but I'm trying to get him to know what I'm asking him. Why is he on the ventilator? What happened? What is the precursor of that? Hang on. Let's see if he can show me. He's like sitting in a chair in my head going
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I go, what is that for? What are you trying to tell me with that? Can you show me more? Weird. God, it almost feels like I don't know if we had a heart attack or a stroke or something like that, but it like makes me burn and I don't know.
It was a very unusual death.
Yeah, so this is what he's showing me. He's making my body feel like I have like give me a second. We're panting, we're hyperventilating, we're like laying there very unconscious all the way through. We're he keeps showing me dazed and confused. He's not in an accident. That's not a thing. What are you doing? Now he's making me feel nauseous. But why?
Do you want me to
Weird.
help?
Did he have like a no? Did he have like an internal bleed or something that caused him to like slowly go unconscious? And then that's what happened. What happened with
Sort
him?
of, sort of.
Yeah. What is
So
it?
the chronic thing was Parkinson's, right?
Oh,
But
poor
then
buddy.
he got,
Yeah.
they found out that he had multiple myeloma, which is a form of blood cancer. And so
Oh, that's
by
why
the
it
time they
burned.
figured it out, what it does is puts a lot of calcium in your blood, and it started shutting
Yeah.
down his kidneys because they'd been trying to filter out this calcium, right?
Yeah.
So he decided to try the chemo. He had to do a little bit of dialysis just to get to the point that he could do chemo. He had his first session of chemo. Thought it was going really well, but ended up having a heart attack from the chemo that night. They put his stent in. He was doing really well. Then he had some kind of a reaction to the chemo that made him stop breathing. And he started swelling all over. And then he broke out into all these oozing. He was bleeding from his eyes, all over his body. So what you were talking about with the burning and the internal bleeding. I mean, his throat had closed because of all the sores that popped up, like from this. They use his reaction as a case study for a teaching hospital, right? Because they'd never seen anybody have a reaction like him. Yeah.
That was the oddest thing oh my God, I'm so sorry that he had to go through that. He's talking about how he's laying there and he's just panting and he's in so much pain and he's making me burn. And I'm like, I have no idea.
It was because of all those sores.
The sores and
they were all inside and outside, right? So Yeah.
Oh, poor buddy. Yeah, and then he keeps showing me, like if I have pressure and I can taste blood in my mouth, and I'm
Hmm.
like, maybe we had some sort of internal bleed. But then he talks about the heart attack, so I'm like, dude, what is going on with you?
Hmm.
Poor bud.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't die with dignity at all. Like it really,
And he had very, very strong wishes to never be put on a ventilator.
yeah. That's
And
why.
and he
Okay.
didn't even when he was having the heart attack that night because he was at peace with dying. He knew
Yeah,
what
he was okay.
Parkinson's was going to be like, and he would
Hmm.
rather go out with the cancer
Hmm.
because he was a very proud man.
Yeah.
And so it was, you know, he didn't want to go,
Yeah.
right? He didn't want to go. They made him go, right? I wasn't there. I was across the country.
Okay.
And so then when he had the reaction, he coded because his throat closed, right? And the doctor talked his wife into putting him on the vent because he said if we can just get some steroids in him to get him breathing again, he'll be okay. We'll get him past this allergic reaction, right? And then, he just continued
No.
to go downhill, right?
Oh my
um
God.
but that's where a lot of the struggle is for me was he was so against that. And so when I got there, he was already on the event. It had happened while I was in transit.
Yeah.
And so then it was figuring out, do we just pull him off, or do we now, because he's already on it, do we leave him? And I was the one that talked everybody into finally pulling him off of the vent to let him go, because I
Yeah.
knew he would never want to be on it in the first place. But it was 3 days before that happened.
Oh
Um,
my God.
and let me tell you
All
that
right.
whenever
Oh, yeah.
whenever the doctor was in the room and I was demanding, some information on it, what are any chances of this improving or what have you, right?
Hmm.
And I said, okay, then, based upon that, we want to pull him off the vent, right? We want to let him go. And
Yeah.
I looked over at Dad in tears, even though he was unconscious, right? So you knew he was
Could feel.
listening.
Hmm. Yeah. You
And
could
that's
feel.
always haunted me. Was that relief or was that sadness, right?
No, that was it. It was probably both in a way. I can let's get into that. Let's get into
Okay.
that. I think a couple of things. One, he made me feel um so much pain that that could also be from that too. The other thing that goes along with this is that I don't think he didn't want to go out that way.
Mm-mm.
Um
No.
I think a tiny bit of fear. He was okay with being going, crossing over, but at the same time there's a weird feeling that I'm getting from him that he's like, "Oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is it." You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think that he wanted to put you in that position, because that now comes down on you. So that's sad because you are even though you're the toughest one, you're also the softest one that comes into this. And so that's very, very difficult at the same time. So
Yeah.
that kind of comes with the territory. Um, I definitely don't think he's not afraid or mad at anything like that. That's not a thing. He's perfectly fine right now, but he's taking me kind of like into that moment. And there's the feeling of, oh my gosh, this is it. And then it's like, wow, she has to go and have this happen. And then at the same time, it's like, well, this is, it's just so many different things wrapped up in one.
In one.
Um, though the wife did it out of fear. She did it out of fear.
Yeah. Yeah. She
Um,
had she had good intentions.
yeah, I go, what happened with her? Why did she keep you up? What was that? And he shows me an image of somebody else I've seen that's passed, and they talk about this woman panicking about it, right? And so they did it out of fear. They talk about how what? So you don't talk to that stepmother anymore? She's gone out of your life?
I did for a while. I didn't,
Yeah.
I went way out of my way to help her out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't go
Work
well.
out.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I go, well, what about her? I said, obviously, talking about you, she's a really good soul. I go, what's going on with the stepmother? And he talks about how there's a closeness, but how that's like all the way gone now. He talks about how there's like a tug of war. So it was a tug of war of, I don't know, just with his stuff, or maybe she was trying to come over and use you in a way. That's kind of how that feels. And we ended up having to,
Yeah.
snipping it and cutting her off.
Yeah.
She, what? Is she already with somebody else? Is she already talking to somebody else?
I don't know because of it's probably been 2 years since more than a
Mm.
happy Christmas kind of Merry
Mm.
Christmas kind of text or something, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, he's talking about how I go, so what's happening with her? Where is she at? How did that go? And he talks about how she was searching for somebody else to like latch on to or be with. And so I think maybe she's
That
either
would make
talking to
sense.
somebody.
She's the type that really needs
Is she
uh,
really?
yeah, yeah, she
Yeah,
does.
she's a needy person.
Yeah.
I mean, don't feel bad about that at all.
Okay.
He
Because
wants you to
I
kind of
did
like
worry about that when I cut her
work.
off. There were some comments made about your dad would be so disappointed, right?
No,
And I was
no,
just
he
like,
well, maybe back then when he's trying to keep the peace, right? When he's
yeah,
here in this physical area, but now he sees it from a different point of view to where it doesn't matter. It's not going to benefit you. It's only going to benefit her in a way,
right.
right? So
Yeah,
it's not going to be both. And by you allowing this to happen to you, right? What she's doing to you, that's, that in a way is selfless, right? But at the
yeah,
same time, she's hurting you. So that doesn't have
yeah,
any benefit. And they see
yeah.
that as that way.
Okay.
Your stepfather is funny because he has kind of like stepped aside to make this communication happen because he feels like it really, really does.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Are you good? Are you enough? Are you done?" Like he's talking to your dad. He you're I feel like your stepfather would have like a Hawaiian shirt on and like just want to go and like walk on the beach. Like that's kind of what he feels like.
Oh
Your dad
yeah.
is just more. Mm-hmm.
We spend a lot
He
of time at the beach. Yeah.
really, oh yeah, he's a really, really nice guy. He goes up and he shakes his hand. So he knew him, but he
Yeah.
didn't really, yeah. Um,
They
he's
respected each
talking
other, but didn't necessarily like each other.
like each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he comes up and he has his hand in his pocket and he goes,
Yeah.
"Good to see you."
Yeah.
But there's nothing else to go along with that.
Yeah.
I want to go over and pop over and see if I can get him. We're gonna get our other person, and then we're gonna have them talk
Okay.
together, and we're gonna have this whole thing. Let me see what stepfather's funny. Stepfather says, he goes, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good. There's nothing to worry about here." Did he pass after your mother?
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. He goes like this. He says, I said, "Well, why are you so good?" He says, "I went up to see your mom." I go, okay.
Of course.
So he's
Yeah.
talking about going to be with her. He says that they were crazy about each other. They really did like each other. Yeah, he says, "I still love her," like that. And you see this woman, hang on. Oh, your mom wishes she would have been stronger for you. Interesting. Even though your mom was a very, very intense woman, at, like kind of towards the end, she says, "I wish I would have been stronger for her." I feel like maybe she played a role and a part of like trying to be domineering, but maybe she didn't have the right footing for it, right? So it
Yeah.
was kind of like left with like false walls. She what happened with her and why are you here and why are you dead? Um, she just wants to be around the kids, the grandkids. Um, Wait, no, no, you don't. Do you really? Do you have a kid in college?
My youngest is in college.
Shut up. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay. You're 30, you're like 35 to me. Because I'm 33. We're the same age in my head. Okay.
Right.
And so
52.
I
52.
great high five. Way to go. Get it. Okay. Now I'm even more impressed. Yeah. She's talking about I said, "Well, where are the grandkids at? How old are they? Are they like 10, 9, 8? Like what are they?" And they go, "No, no, no, they're in and out of college." I was like,
I have
okay.
2 grandkids. Yeah.
You are a grandma too. Shush. Okay. Hold on. There's weird. I just had like I know you don't have this. I had like a random name of like Grayson coming in, and that's so weird. Um, are you trying to have a little girl? Or are they trying to have another little girl?
No,
Oh,
that I know of, but it's
okay. We're gonna
possible.
keep that there. Okay, we're gonna
Yeah.
keep that there and leave that in the back. They just showed me
I
a
could see
baby.
that being a name they would pick though.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
random name Grayson. And I'm like, all right, I think that's a girl name. And then they showed me like a pink band around the head. It doesn't feel like people are we'll get into that. Hang on. It feels like you're gonna end up having a surprise baby. Not you, but
Right.
them. Like
Yeah.
they'll have a surprise baby, and you're just like, "Oh, well, here we are." Like that's kind of your reaction to it. What I think by next Christmas, you're going to end up having a surprise, another grandchild. I think that's going to be a thing. So we're just going to
Love it.
keep that there in the background, right?
I love being a grandma. It's
But do you
amazing.
really? I can,
Ah,
oh, I'm
I love
excited.
it. I love it.
Right. And you can do a redo, like a re-over, right? The whole thing. He what? Come here, tell me about that. Your mom, what happened with you, mom? Did your mom end up having cancer for a while?
No.
Weird. She's talking about like almost like being really, really shy to talk about her being ill or feeling bad. And she's always like putting it off and putting it off. She goes like she's sitting in a chair in my head and she goes, sorry, I was sick. Which for me means like maybe I didn't tell everybody or maybe I kind of put it off and maybe I just wanted to keep it to myself and maybe I was really getting worse on the inside. That's how she
Mhm.
feels. She
Yeah, that fits. It's just not cancer.
mhm.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what this means. What? Give me a second. She what? She just gave me all these pills in my hand, put them in my mouth, and made me drink a big ass cup of water with it. And you can feel them, what they are. I don't know if she's trying to like self-treat it with
Yeah,
that or if
that's
maybe
how
they're
she
like,
took her life.
really? Yeah. Oh no, really?
Mhm.
Yeah, she just made me like have this handful of pills and she went and then she got this clear glass of water and she goes,
Yeah.
that was it. That's all.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No wonder. No wonder.
From
Oh,
a
and that's
chronic
why
ill.
they're
She was getting away from a chronic illness. She couldn't take the pain anymore. Yeah.
poor bud. No
Yeah.
wonder. Oh, that's sad. I'm so sorry. You know, it's interesting. She's very quiet about it. She doesn't like to talk about it. She's talking about how it's this, long-term ongoing thing. She's talking about how it slowly broke her down over and over. So obviously that goes in the mentally too. She talks about how, well, what was it? Hang on. Weird. She almost feels like she doesn't have MS though. Hmm. It's weird. It's like it almost feels like,
It's similar, but
yeah.
fibromyalgia.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, she keeps making me feel like so I have psoriatic arthritis
Mhm.
and she keeps making me feel that and then she keeps making me feel how like people are very stiff because their joints hurt
Mhm.
really bad from MS and
Mhm.
how terrible it is.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't know what this is. Okay, okay.
Mhm.
Um She says, "Leave me be." She's a good woman though. She doesn't want to talk about it. She's very quiet. This is how she's in my head. I ask her, she's sitting in this chair quietly, and she makes me feel that. And then she's just sitting here and she's like, that's what she's doing. And which means she's trying to cope with it. She's trying to deal with it. Wait. She's talking about like back then, everybody thought you were crazy. Everybody thought you were nuts or something. She says that she like doesn't want to be on more drugs. She doesn't want to. Um, she couldn't see like the beauty in life anymore as well. It was very, very difficult for her. She's talking about looking outside and she shows me birds singing in like the sun and then she turns into darkness. And I'm like, okay, that's great. She says that she wishes she could be more for you. She wishes she could have been more for you. Um, but like you understand it. You get it though now. You understand. She one. By the time people found her, there was no way of bringing her back. she's talking about, I said, so obviously you took pills. I said a lot of the times you'll lay there and you'll just have a lot of breathing issues for a while and people will find you and they'll try to bring you back. And she's talking about people coming in and how, but like there's nothing, there ain't no way. I mean, we're already dead,
Yeah.
it's nothing there.
Yeah.
And she's talking about watching her body. She one. She just did she do this just in her bed?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. She goes like this. I said, "Where are you at?" Because most people they leave, they do it in their car, they go
Mhm.
outside, or they go somewhere
Yep.
away. And she goes, "I just,"
Yep.
which means like I laid down and I didn't wake back up again. Um, what? There was something else going on inside with her. She was also suffering, I mean, not only from this, but like depression as well. Obviously, that's a thing. But the only reason I say that, and it's not just all based on that, is because when she gets up out of her body, she looks at her body and she goes, like there's not a rejoiceful feeling. It's like, oh man. So what?
She struggled with mental illness her whole life.
Yeah. She's very quiet. She's different than your dad. And so she's giving me a lot of symbols. She's giving me a lot of feelings. Like right now I'm in this bedroom, I guess, in her house. And she's just showing me, hold on. Were they renting an apartment when she passed?
I don't know if he owned it or not, but it was like a townhouse. Yeah.
The townhouse thing. Okay, cool. Because she's talking about how there's neighbors right next to them, or
Yes.
like they can
Yes.
hear them. Okay. So I'm like, this is not a home. Because when I said their house, she's like, she's talking about it's different. She says that she's talking about walking up and down the steps. She's talking about how it's all gone now. She's weird. She's interesting. She shows me a cup. She pours tea into it in my head, and she's just holding it and like this. Like I'm standing here watching her.
Yeah.
Like nothing. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? I don't know if she's fully healed yet. I think she's getting there. She loves you. She's part of it. Another thing I think she's showing me is she's trying to show me how she felt, what it was like after she passed. She's also trying to
Okay.
show me the fact that it really, really hurt her to, I guess, to see him suffer, to see him sad afterwards as well. Like he, I guess, was like destroyed in a way. She's very sad to see this man cry. Um, he was supportive though. The stepfather was supportive though. Just of like her. Hold on. So he was her rock. She would be able to like talk to him about anything and be there for it. Yeah. Okay. I'm like, well, why did you do this? You had a great guy. What was going on? And then she's just talking about how it wasn't enough. He is her happy place. He is her happy place. He is like this bright, beautiful golden sun, and she's like leaning on him. They're definitely part of the same thing.
Good.
What? He loves her. What happened? So he stayed in that townhouse after she passed?
For a little while. For a little
Mm-hmm.
while.
Mm-hmm.
But so it, my stepfather and her
Mm-hmm.
were married and apart 3 times.
Oh yeah, that's why they're karmatic.
They
Okay.
were, but they always loved each other. They just,
Mm-hmm.
it was that kind of an energy. That was actually
Yeah.
not who she was with when she died. She had married
Oh.
somebody else,
Yeah.
and he was a really just super nice guy, just super nice
Mm-hmm.
guy, but they hadn't been together that long.
Mm-hmm.
And he was supportive of her, right? So
Yeah.
I think he
Yeah.
fits, but he is actually
Yeah.
a different
He's a
person.
different guy.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, he almost feels whoever this guy is, she keeps talking about watching this man cry, watching this man be very, very sad. He feels
Yeah.
a little bit more what would be, I guess you'd say, plain in a way.
Yeah.
He and he's still alive, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, cool.
He's remarried, but he still keeps in touch, right? So
Yeah, he does. Okay, good. Yeah, she's not with him. She's around the stepfather.
yeah, I
Um,
would see that. Yeah.
yeah, over your father even. Um,
Mm.
I think your dad and her had a really hard, I mean, obviously they're divorced, but they had a really hard time like getting along or getting a like
They
oil
did.
and water in a way.
Yeah.
Your mom has love. She loves you. It's there, but there's also this really odd feeling of her just standing out in space. And I don't know why. Maybe she's trying to figure
Okay.
things out. There is love, there is kindness, there's that.
Because
I'm gonna
that's
kind of
important.
like,
I never really felt loved by her. Right. It was
yeah.
kind of a thing. And she would tell me the opposite. She would be like, no, I overcompensate over here because I do feel such a connection with you. But for my whole life, I never felt
You felt
like I
that?
mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you matter, you do. I can tell you that, but most of the time when I read moms and daughters, it's like, "Oh my God, I love you. How are
Mm-hmm.
you?"
Mm-hmm.
Ah, this is
Mm-hmm.
like this feels like the way that my mother and her mother were. It's just kind of like, hi Teresa, how are you doing? You're
Mm-hmm.
good,
Mm-hmm.
huh? Like that,
Yeah.
like almost plain.
Yeah.
And
Almost
that's
like the
that's
way
a
you're describing her now, right? Almost a
yeah,
disconnected kind of thing, but not
yeah,
not that they wish you anything bad, but they just
no,
weren't.
they didn't know how.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, so is she around? Yeah. Does she help you out? Kind of, yeah. But I think she's also dealing with her stuff. I think she would go and be around your kids more in a way because she would appreciate
Yeah.
them. She would love them. Your
Yeah.
dad is your right hand, let me tell you, he's one of them. And then your stepfather is the other one. I think, and what I found is like when people have a lot of mental illness in real life, it's because their vibration or their frequency is off and they don't really know how to get right with themselves, and they get thrown in
Mm-hmm.
like this physical reality and it messes them up even more. And so when they go back into non-physical, it takes them a little bit.
Yeah.
Nobody's in a bad spot. She's just, and
I
for the
haven't
fact
felt
also,
like she's been around, and I have felt that it was because she was healing, trying to
he is
heal
healing.
because of, the way her whole
Mm-hmm.
life was, right?
Mm-hmm.
I suspected that. But okay, so I have a question. Maybe you can
Yeah.
ask this.
Yeah.
Um, Curtis, who's the guy that I'm with now,
Mhm.
was cleaning yesterday, looked over, swears he never met her, that she was standing right there watching him.
Probably.
Scared him to death. But that's the first time I've ever even had an inkling that she was around.
Well, first off, how she would be. Remember how I've talked about how she's just standing in this kitchen
Yeah.
and she is just,
That's what he saw her in the kitchen, right in front, standing right in front of the refrigerator.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah, she's just standing there. There's like really not a whole expression about it. I'm getting
Yeah.
more feelings off of her. And
Okay.
I think in a way there's now this is me trying to figure out how all this stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
Because she committed suicide is one thing. That's a lower vibration thing. She's trying to figure out herself, but she's trying to figure out what love is and how to love you
Okay.
properly as well. So there's almost like that little bit of a disconnect.
Okay.
We're about to have the session, so we've been thinking and talking about her and bringing her forward more.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of coming and showing herself to you, what does she do? She comes through the path of least resistance, which is coming through him, right? So in a way, and her
Okay.
just standing there, there's not like ha 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 or
Right.
love that would also give off the same vibe that she's giving me now. So in
Okay.
a way, it's like mom is trying to heal, but she's also trying to come through and tell you, "Hey, I am here," but
Okay.
she's coming through that. So
Okay.
let him know that that's a thing, especially if he got
Okay.
goosebumps afterwards, especially if
Oh
there was
yeah, he
that
did.
beauty. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's mom.
Okay.
Mom feels kind of like a ghost a little bit.
Okay.
Um, but she's not stuck. She's just healing. That's the best way I can
Okay.
describe it.
Okay.
Um, ooh, tell him that was real.
Okay.
Tell him that was real. And I don't say that a whole lot. Let me go over here. If you ever have any questions about her, so what would we do to help her? What would we do to heal her? What? So she has to heal herself. But the other thing we can do: set out a picture, get a candle, light it, say, "I love you, mom. This is for
Okay.
you. I forgive
I
you of
haven't
everything."
done that as much with her as I have with the fathers, right? And probably it's just because of how it happened and
Uh
just
huh.
unresolved challenges,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yeah, I
Yeah,
that's
you
that's
do it.
insightful. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You need to. Why is that? Because you're putting your energy out and you're saying, "I'm doing this in honor of you."
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
And that's a big thing. And so that's
Okay.
why the other guys would be here more. Um she feels weird sometimes, dude. I love your mom, but she needs healing.
Yep.
Let me go here. It's a feeling of blankness, and I'm
Yeah.
not used to that. Um come here, let me see. the pill thing though, I could feel it in my mouth. That was really odd.
Yeah.
What? So the stepfather comes up. I want to go with him. The stepfather comes up and pats your husband on the back. Huh? Like that. Your stepfather doesn't take any crap. He's the one that kind of brings the family together, but he's also the person who will kind of like even out conversations and stuff like that. He likes to just sit around and he likes to listen to y'all, like listen to you talk. He likes to wait. You have a king size bed right now?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay. He says, I said, well, where are you at? What do you do? He's talking about sitting in the living room. He says, oh, I don't go to the bed. He goes, oh, I don't go in the bedroom. He goes, but they have a nice big bed. And I'm like, okay, cool. So that just means it's king size. He says, I like the family. I like the way it's going. Are y'all planning on going to the Mediterranean this year? Like this coming year?
We're trying to plan a trip to Greece. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. He says, I said, well, what are you going to be doing? He's like, well, I'm the one that's doing this. And I said, what are you doing? And he puts like planning this trip and he puts Mediterranean. I go, oh, okay. He
Nice.
says, I'm going to make it happen. So it'd be the first time you meeting them over there?
Well, his parents live here now, but there's a lot of family still there that I have
Oh,
never met.
you've never met them. Okay.
Uh-uh.
In 9 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, that's amazing. He says, yeah, it'll be the first time, and he's having you shake everybody's hands. And I'm like, okay. He says that, what? He's talking about having a baby. What? Is he like, is the boyfriend like 5 years younger than you?
6 months. Mhm.
6 months. Okay, weird. Okay. He put 5, 6, and then he put younger. And so I'm like, 5 or 6 years? It's 6 months. That's why I'm like, what does this mean? He says that very handsome. He likes him. He says, what? He's talking about somebody having their own business, but you run the show. Just going to keep
Okay.
that there. What? Are you very crafty and artsy?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. He's talking about how you can make anything or you can create anything. He's talking about how I guess you would say like you know how people do things with Cricut or like they put
Mhm.
stuff on tumblers and all that stuff. He's just like
Mhm.
giving me that for you all the time. He says that what? I think you're great. Are you in a constant but you don't need to be. Are you in a constant battle of for see you're good. Hold on. He's talking about food. He's making me have you. Maybe that just goes back to the whole Texas versus Greece thing about how you're in like this constant battle of food of like, well, I know this is healthy. I know this is good, but I really like this. So for me, that means maybe we're in this constant thing of like, do I need to go here? I don't know. It's not
Yeah,
clear
I've
to me
been
because
battling with my weight and food
really,
for a lot of years. Yeah.
you look great though. Shut up. Yeah, because
Thank
he's
you.
talking about how you go, you say something like, well, I have all this healthy stuff. I have this here, but oh God,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna break it here.
Here's the
Here's this bad.
cravings, and here's what I know I need to be doing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I feel
I think
guilty. Yeah.
why? No, he tells you like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. Now, with you, I'm gonna ask about health. One.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, let's get into that. It's weird. I almost imagine that you have like a crazy amount of inflammation in your joints as well. Like there's something that's happening there and that causes a lot of pain, or can cause a lot of pain, which inhibits, other things like stretching and working out. And he's talking about how do you wake up? I mean, I know we're 52. I know I'm 33 and I die every morning, but like, you're doing a lot better than me. Do you wake up? Are you in a lot of pain when you first wake up?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Um, do you also have like issues with digestion and like all that stuff? Okay. It's almost weird. It's almost like we talk about Crohn's or celiac or something like we get into that area. I
Okay.
know because I have that. He's talking about how he literally says you're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. But I want to know more into it. Yeah. It doesn't feel like we have intestinal cancer. It doesn't feel like we have lung cancer. It doesn't feel like we have any type of aneurysm or anything like that. There is something like chronically going on underneath. Have they ever talked about Hashimoto's with you?
Mm-mm. They
Weird.
always act
Look
like
that
my
up.
thyroid's good, right? But I feel like it's all inflammation, right? That's what
Yeah.
I feel like is my root cause. And but
Uh-huh.
why? Why
Yeah.
is what I don't know.
Correct. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. The joints they show me swollen and red. They're talking about waking up and being really, really stiff. They're talking about how there'd be red inflammation, like
Mhm.
intestinal wise and stuff. They're talking about how it would cause us to have like swelling. And for me, I know that my dad and a couple of my friends had something like Hashimoto's, right?
Mhm.
Um, there's an underlying.
Okay.
It's gonna drive you crazy though. I don't know. It feels something like that. Hang on. I think in 2 years you're gonna end up finding out, and it's not
Okay.
going to be anything crazy. It's
Okay.
just gonna be something where you go, "Wow, I finally figure it out."
And now it can be life changing because that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes I feel like I'm too old for my age, right?
Oh,
On
why?
activity wise and
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
I there's so
yeah,
much I don't do because it hurts, right?
yeah.
So
Oh, I get it. Oh, I get it. I understand that. You
but you're
you
amazing. You rise so
stop.
much above it, right? So
Yeah,
that's
oh yeah, I kick its
yeah.
ass and take its name. Just know that you'll be okay. It does feel like now I'm not a doctor, so I don't know all of the things, but it doesn't feel hormonal. It feels like it's something like when we talk about this thyroid thing, up and down, up and down. I'm gonna say it's even something around um hold on. I'm just gonna keep saying it's around that Hashi type of thing.
Okay.
But it goes even further because it almost feels like you have really bad like osteoarthritis, but I'm going to leave that there and I don't
Okay.
know what that is. But I think at some point in about I would just say later part of the next 2 years, you end up finding out. It's weird that I almost feel like you end up getting like intravenous treatments. So like if we go through and we do something once a month, not
Mhm.
cancer, not chemotherapy,
Right.
but they have different things. I think it ends up turning into something like that and you're going to be
Okay.
okay. Um your stepfather's around you. He loves you. I don't want you to ever feel what happened with him real quick. And then I want to answer questions. He just played Island in the Sun in my head. He puts a little beach hat on you. He are y'all threatening to move out of the state that you're in right now, or did y'all just get there? Where are y'all
Nope.
at right now?
We're in North Carolina.
Mm.
I have considered moving to Florida where my oldest daughter and grandchildren are.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, he keeps talking about beaches. He keeps talking about
Yep.
putting a sun hat on. And then he's talking about where you're at. There is a beach. That's why, and he's like, this is where we live, but he keeps talking about threatening to go over to this
Yep.
area. I would say do that, but have you thought about doing it in about 3 years? Can you do that then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so don't do it now. Wait like 3 years, and then
Okay.
definitely like hop, skip, and jump down over there. And I think that'd be
Okay.
really good for you.
Okay.
Yeah, he is a good guy. He is bright. He is shiny. He's high vibration. He's trying to help your mother out of her bad situation. He
Yep.
um he just wants to tell you he loves you. He's like, just tell her I love her. So he didn't get the chance to tell you that before he passed.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, okay. Because he like shows me as he's dying in my head, and he's like, "Tell her I love her." He says,
It
"I
was
didn't get a
COVID.
chance to do that." Poor Bud. No wonder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, poor
Yeah.
Bud. He So he died alone.
Yeah.
That's the dying alone person. Oh, okay. Yeah, they keep talking about how they take off this mask and that's it. I'm over. It's
Mhm.
gone. Um, he likes celebrations of life. He wants
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So he
Okay.
Mhm. He's a
Yeah.
really, really good guy.
He
What?
is.
Did he get cremated?
He did. Mhm.
Yeah, cool. He goes talking about a celebration of life and he gets his ashes and he goes I'm like so he's just talking about being free.
That's
He's
so
fine. He
fitting.
doesn't
Yes.
yeah,
That's so
he's
fitting.
very bright, colorful, and great. So you have
Yeah.
three very different spirits around you.
He
know
was
that
a
your husband,
bebopping personality. Yeah.
yeah, the way he did, he like jumped. He's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, all right, that's fine. So
Yeah.
for right now, my dear, do you have, because I have to go to my next
Yep.
session. Well,
Yep.
one thing, I want you to tonight or later tonight or even now, email me, send me your birthday, your location that you were born in.
Okay.
So I'm Houston, Texas, November 7th, 1988. That way you
Okay.
just know that I'm not taking it. And then send me your boyfriend's. And then I want to look at your chart tomorrow. Okay. And then
Perfect.
I'll email you back because I'm just going to give you the skinny on it. I didn't have time to do it now, so I'll do it afterwards.
Thank you so
So
much.
what I need you to do right now is I need you to take a couple minutes, have a good breather or have a good ugly cry. Both of those are
Yeah.
very important. And then the next thing later on is light a candle for them. Okay. You don't have to light 3 of them, just light one, and
I
tell
do
them you
that a
love
lot.
them.
Yep.
I'm glad. I want
I
you to
need to
keep that
include
up.
mom though. Yep.
Yes, please. Well, because she's the one that she's the one that needs it the most.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then if you have any questions or if you need me, talk to me on live, email me. I'll get right back to you. Okay.
One last
And I love
question
you.
for you.
Yeah. What's up? Yeah.
Dad, is he proud of
Yeah.
me?
I see.
Not just that he loves me, but
Mhm.
am I a disappointment or is he proud? You know?
Mm. This is the thing. Are you disappointed or what's going on? Are you happy with it? And he has his hand on his hip and he goes like, well, why wouldn't I be? Why wouldn't I be like that? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, you are, aren't you? Aren't you? He says, he's almost talking about like, the thing that you're doing with your, I'm gonna call him your fiance, right now. It's a big new chapter in your life, and I really, really look forward, and he does too, for like the next 5 years that are going to happen. There's no disappointment at all. There's no disappointment. There's only looking forward to the future and looking forward to how you bloom and how you continue to grow. I think these are going to be some of the best years of your life, and I think you need to enjoy
Yay.
it because you've had enough shit to deal with in the
Yeah.
past. Okay. So
Thank you,
now we're
Amy.
here and you're welcome. I love
Such a
you. So
blessing.
I mean,
Such a blessing.
oh,
I have
I'm
to tell
glad.
you real quick before you
What?
go.
Yeah.
Years
Yeah.
ago, you were on a talk show. I saw you on that talk show and felt a connection to you way back when. And so when I found you on TikTok and found that you were doing these sessions and stuff, I had to book it. And it was like a year and a half ago. And it was just I feel so blessed that we had a
Love
few good
you.
together. So
Thank you. Thank you.
I
Oh, I'm
don't
so
know. I
glad
don't
you're
know what we have,
happy.
but we got something here.
We do.
And
Me too.
thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Well, email me that. I'm gonna look at your chart because I'm gonna
Okay.
see how we vibe and why we're connected. Not only are we both from Texas, but
Yeah.
yours is from the Mediterranean, mine's from California. Both kind of the same thing. But I love you. And if you're
Thank
ever in
you.
Texas again, or when I go to North Carolina, I'll hit you up.
I love
Okay.
it. I would love it. Thank you so
I
much,
love you,
Amy.
baby. You're
All right.
welcome.
Love you.
Anytime.